What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Fall Obsession podcast. My name is Sam. I'm your show host over here. Thank you all for tuning in. This week, got a special treat for y'all. We're actually off-site recording in the bow shop at Bear River Archery with Justin and the team over there. Awesome podcast. You guys know me. I'm an archery guy. I like to get super technical with the kind of stuff. I'm picky about my equipment. And in this episode, I kind of got to do that with Justin a little bit. We talk archery, we talk hunting, we talk bows, just life in general. It's pretty awesome and a great conversation. Really enjoyed our time there in the bow shop with him and his team and everything. So hope you guys enjoy this conversation. Bear River is one of our podcast partners. So normally during this intro segment, you guys hear me give them a shout out and a little promotion. But obviously we're recording with them this week, so this whole episode hopefully is going to encourage you guys to go check out Bear River and head on over there, see everything they got going on. If you're local to North Texas, let them know that Fall Obsession sent you. And if you're interested in seeing the setup and seeing what they got going on over there, be sure you tune into the podcast video because you'll obviously get to see us recording again in the shop with Justin. And head on over to our social media pages because we're going to have a lot of awesome content leading up to and probably after this episode related to our time spent that day up there at Bear River. So hope you guys enjoy this episode. Before we turn it over to the conversation, though, got some discount codes for you guys from a couple of partners here at Fall Obsession that help keep the show rolling. The first one is Hoot Camo, and Justin and the Bear River team are more than familiar with the guys over there at Hoot. It's kind of cool how this network here local to us in North Texas, ourselves included, is all kind of coming together. We're really enjoying the companies and the people that we're affiliated with, and Hoot Camo is one of them. They make some great quality camouflage and outdoor hunting gear. I'm rocking some of their just lifestyle wear if you guys are watching the podcast video, but I've been wearing their camouflage for a couple different hunting seasons now. I've worn it in Texas, I've worn it in Colorado, I've worn it in Idaho, and it has held up phenomenally in various conditions against various elements. It's a high quality set of camouflage. The pattern's versatile, very functional in different environments. And the best part about it is a price point that is realistic to the everyday hunter like you and me. I know that we can all start shopping prices of these big name companies and everything, and nothing against them, but it can be pricey for blue collar outdoorsmen and women. So Hoot is trying to break that mold a little bit and produce a product that is the same quality but at a price point that's realistic if you are looking to get into a good quality set of camouflage. So go check out Hoot Camo and everything they got going on there. If I haven't mentioned the code already, it's Fall Obsession 15. Use that at checkout and it will save you guys some money on your next order at hootcamo.com. Trophy Edits is another Fall Obsession podcast partner, and they have a code for you guys as well. It's Fall Obsession, all lowercase, one word, Fall Obsession. That'll give you guys the opportunity to save some money with them. Think of Trophy Edits like the next big step in digital taxidermy. And you might think, well, why do I need somebody to clean up my hunting photos? Think about it for a second. We have mounts on our walls that memorialize for us some significant moments in the field, significant moments in hunts with loved ones perhaps, and photos do the same thing. There's plenty of guys that actually take those photos from those kills, from those trips, from those hunting camps, and they put them on their walls as well to remember those moments. And Trophy Edits will take those photos and clean them up for you guys, make them absolutely extraordinary. And you can even order prints and the actual physical copies to go on the wall directly from them and their website. So it's a great opportunity, a great thing they got going on over there. Just go to the website and check out the work. Click on the link in the podcast description and at least see what they can do. I had the same thought. I was like, man, how much can you already take a good picture and make it even better? Well, that's exactly what Trophy Edits does, and they have some examples of their work on their website. At least go check them out, guys, like I said, and see what they got going on. And if you choose to place an order, use the code FALLOBSESSION to save you some money. The Outdoor Call Radio app is a podcast partner. Outdoors Dan from Respect the Game TV. He created an app that you can download on any device where you can stream hunting shows and podcasts on a loop every single day. You guys can catch Fall Obsession podcast streaming on that loop on Mondays. That's the same day as our new publications, as well as tons of other hunting shows and podcasts that we all know and love. go download the Outdoor Call Radio app today. It's free, and you can start streaming immediately. And be sure that you follow the Outdoor Call Radio app and Outdoors Dan on social media, because they do some live radio show broadcasts throughout the week. And even if you're not local to those radio stations, you can catch those live broadcasts streaming on their social media pages live. Again, it's the Outdoor Call Radio app. Go download it and start streaming today. Thank you guys again for listening to another Fall Obsession podcast. If you are new to the show or you haven't done it yet, be sure that you hit that follow or subscribe button up there in the top corner. Whatever the platform has up there for you guys, turn on your notifications if that's an option. That way you know every time we drop a new episode. Again, we drop new publications, new podcasts every single Monday morning. Go on over to the YouTube channel. We got a ton of awesome content coming down the pipe in the form of long-form videos when it comes to films and shows and all that good stuff. And that's going to be on the YouTube channel, free for all you guys to watch. So make sure you're subscribed to Fall Obsession's YouTube. Our website is fallobsession.com. All of our content filters through there. Our films, our shows, our educational content, our podcasts, written articles, gear reviews, that stuff's on there. And you guys can also shop around and pick up a hat or a shirt if you'd like to. So again, that's fallobsession.com. You can find everything on there. And make sure that you guys are streaming our shows on Carbon TV. If you haven't heard of Carbon TV, think of it like Netflix for hunting, except it's free. It's a free hunting and outdoor streaming platform for shows, podcasts, films, all of it. And we at Fall Obsession have 4 different shows that we produce that are on the Carbon platform. This podcast, our staff-inspired video podcast series called Couch Chats, is on there, as well as our 2 different hunting shows titled Texas Dirt and Midwest Mindset. You can stream all those for free from Carbon TV. Last but not least, make sure that you guys head on over to the social media platforms that you are active on and give Fall Obsession a like and a follow. Just doing something as simple as that and sharing our content, that's how you guys can help us grow this platform, and we always appreciate that. We are blue-collar men and women just like the rest of y'all who enjoy producing content around hunting in the outdoors, and we're grateful for any and all support you guys can give us. So be sure you're following us on social media. And with that, we are taking it over to our conversation with Justin at Bear River Archery. You guys are going to love it, and you're listening to another Fall Obsession podcast.
Oh, you got her, dude. She's down.
Let's go.
Dude, I just shot a deer of a lifetime.
Freaking smoked him.
One with nature, and if you're a believer, one with God.
Definitely gets your heart pumping. Boy, you are in trouble.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
Oh, you've got a whole podcast set up over there. I didn't even see that.
Dude, it's been days. It's been years.
Yeah.
Not years, but it's been a long time since I got that rolling or had that going.
Did you do podcasts at all? Or
Yeah, there's, I don't know, there's probably 10 or 12.
Really?
Yeah, I did a while back, and then it just kind of, with the hunting thing and opening the store and then going on TikTok and doing other stuff, it became like 12th on the list.
Yeah.
And it just takes time.
Yeah.
And I don't have time for the other 11 things before that, so it just kind of fell off.
What was the show called?
It's called After the Shot.
After the Shot.
So it used to be, it was me and one of my hunting buddies. We would just talk about God knows what. You know, hunting, all that sort of jazz, drink bourbon. Wasn't a long show, but just kind of hung out and did that. And we had a lot of fun for like the year that we did it.
Yeah.
It was just a time thing. So, yeah, that was back when Knocked Up Outdoors was around. So we did Knocked Up Outdoors after the shot. And then we would kind of talk about our hunts. It was supposed to be kind of a play on words. We'd start the podcast off every time with a shot of something.
Nice.
Liquor-wise.
Nice.
So it's kind of play on words in that, and then we do a podcast after hunts. So hopefully there was a shot, like a legit shot.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that, talking about the experience there. So yeah, it was just more of a kind of hunting after dark, if you will.
Yeah.
About what actually went on besides the 6 minutes people see on YouTube.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm. I didn't know you had that going. That's pretty cool.
Well, had it going.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's man, I don't even know. I'd have to look back on YouTube to see when the last time I posted a video or I posted a podcast was. I bet it would shock me. Yeah, it was quite a while ago. It was fun, but it was just, again, one of those things,
Yeah.
Time.
I hear you, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
I hear
sure.
you. Well, for the sake of this podcast, we are at Bear River Archery with Justin, and Jordan's back here too, hanging out. Working
Yeah,
on
he's
some,
a
working on
working
some-
man.
Yeah, working
Yeah.
on some bows.
Somebody's got to work around here, right? You can't just all sit around and look pretty.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're here hanging out at the shop, knocking out a podcast. Thanks for hosting, man.
Hey, of course,
And
I'm glad to have you guys.
welcome to our show in your building.
I love it. Yeah, it's perfect.
We've done
Yeah,
this.
I mean, how can you complain, right? I didn't have to go anywhere. You came to me, so right? I mean, call it whatever you want.
Yeah, we recorded with Dale Brisby, I think it was, and that was his deal. He was like, "Yeah, I'll do a podcast, but you got to come to me in my studio." I was like, "Say less."
Yeah,
it was great.
Yeah, we're
right?
there.
You're like, man, it's got to be like better equipment.
I
than
know
we
you got
guys."
better stuff than I do. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and there was like 4 cameras around everywhere, like super
You're
nice
like, which one
cameras.
Which one
Yeah,
do I
Nick
look
and I we were intimidated.
Yeah, I
going
was
in
like,
there.
I'm just gonna sit here and be quiet.
Pretty
on
cool,
this
dude.
podcast where you're supposed to
Oh
talk.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's super.
I mean, he's you see the mantra he puts out, right?
I know.
But-
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously like for the show we're recording with Dale, right? But
Yeah.
then I don't know, when you walk in, like he just runs up to you and, hey man, how's it going? Shakes your hand. Super cool guy. Chill, lay back, get you anything to drink. You know, just I mean,
Yeah.
he was a great host, and we had a good time for sure.
That's cool.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure what to expect.
Yeah.
Like to
Oh,
expect
yeah.
the guy you see on the screen or somebody else. You know,
Right.
it was like, yeah, super chill, super nice guy.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, we walk in and it's like you walk into his warehouse and he's got all of his shirts and everything from his apparel brand. It looks like a warehouse, right? But then you go to, she takes us back to the quote unquote media room, and you walk in and there's like 6 dudes all on a multi-monitor computer station, and they're all editing something different. Like this guy's working on video, this guy's on reels, this guy's just making thumbnails or whatever it was.
Man.
And over to the side is the podcast studio with the cameras and the lights, and it's just, oh, this is a full-time operation.
Yeah.
Like this is legit, you know? It's
I was about to say,
yeah.
yeah, that's crazy. What is it? Much that much cost me?
I
You know?
Oh,
was like, man, if I ever
outrageous.
if I ever get to this point, like we're gonna do some serious work in the media world.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You'd be like, no, Dale, you can come to me.
Yeah, that's right.
that's right. Heck
My
yeah.
studio.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
That's cool.
It was a good time, good conversation. He invited us back. So, what you got, buddy? Nice job. My son's over here for those just listening to audio, building Legos with us. So, hanging
it.
out in the bow shop. We got him set up with his first bow this morning. So.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah, we
cool.
did. No, that's great. Well, it's hardly a Dale Brisby studio, but glad you guys
Shoot,
came and
this
hang out.
is-
Man, I did a podcast, just me and Nick, virtually the other day, and we were talking about how the in-person stuff, I don't care where we are, the in-person stuff is my favorite stuff.
Yeah.
Is these conversations, they're so much more organic, they flow so much better. I feel like they go deeper to a whole nother level than, I mean, virtual obviously lets us put an episode out every week and record with
Sure.
some really cool people. But,
Yeah.
but the in-person stuff, man, you can't beat it. Cannot beat it.
No, for sure. I totally get that because you got the delay on the camera, right? You got your zoom, and then
Yeah.
it's like, okay, well, you got to stop talking so he can finish listening to you,
Yeah, exactly.
and then talk again. So
Yeah.
no, this is good. I'm glad.
Well, man, I know we're just chatting it up, but
Yeah.
for our listeners, who's Justin and what is Bear River Archery?
I don't know which is a more loaded question. I guess we'll start with Bear River, and then we'll kind of go into my background. So, Bear River Pro Shop, Van Alstyne, Texas. Archery Pro Shop, I guess. We're trying to expand a little bit more into the outdoor realm, not encompassing just archery, but we're going to kind of encompass hopefully some more duck hunting, some more dove hunting, just outdoors in general. Grayson County, Collin County, Dallas County, and then I always forget, but I believe the Southern County in Oklahoma is bow only, so it's in a great location. But yeah, we moved out here a year and a half ago, and there's just not a whole lot of small town like quality pro shops in this area.
Yeah.
There are a couple pro shops, but where you get that one-on-one feel that you don't have to go to Shields for or something like that, a bigger box store, and kudos to them for doing what they do. That takes years to build, but it's just a different experience, right? And so I really wanted to build something that was like, hey, come in, get that one-on-one feel. Let me know what you need. I'm here to take care of you, because at the end of the day, success for me is measured on when you get to send me that picture of that deer and you're grinning ear to ear, and the bow that I set up for you is sitting on his chest.
Yeah.
That's cool for me.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a running business, and yes, we do make money. If we didn't, we wouldn't be here.
Right.
But that's not what it's about for me. I had a dozen or so customers this last year send me pictures at 2 a.m. after they got done dragging their deer out with this big old grin and their whatever bow they purchased or whatever, whatever it was. And that's cool for me, and seeing that, and, going on different hunts with people and different customers and having pro staff shooters, and it's just a really cool environment to be around. So we're going to be here for a while is the goal, as long as the business side of it stays good. But I'm going to be here for a while, hopefully do a lot of expanding, and that's kind of how it all started. And funny story, a lot of people don't know this. It's just more of a, when you come in and you get that one-on-one feel. Some people aren't expecting it. They come up to somebody's just at my personal residence right now. They're like, oh, I didn't know what to expect. This is really cool. You kind of built something a little bit. And I was like, yeah, well, we're trying. And to me, it's like, well, I got to get bigger and better, right? Take it on a personal. But we moved out here, and like I said, there was kind of a need in the area, and just being in the outdoor space on the personal side and on YouTube, social media, and doing hunts and stuff. And I've been doing my own archery forever. I was like, you know what? Let's see how a pro shop would do just around here. So this building that we're sitting in was completely empty, minus crap that we had when we moved.
Sure.
Right.
And I just made a business profile Google, and was just like, at the time it was Knocked Up Outdoors. I just did Knocked Up Outdoors Archery Pro Shop, right? I was just like, let's see what happens, right? The first week I get a dozen calls in 3 days.
Really?
And I was like, oh, I guess I need to probably buy some stuff to sell. It's kind of in that like, we got that. I'll figure it out. Yeah. And, I'd get it, and it just kind of grew from there. I didn't expect that. It was just more of I've always jumped in head first to anything that I've done and gone way too overboard. And then if it doesn't work out, I'm stuck. And this time it was just, let me see if there's even a need before I spend my life pursuing it.
Right.
And there was a need. And then all of a sudden I'm playing catch up for the next 6 months. And then now we're here. Did great business growth over the first year. Can't complain whatsoever. The local community has been phenomenal to me. People coming in and out. But yeah, that's very long story longer on how it kind of started.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Love it. It's exactly what happened to me when I first came in. I was like, is this the right place?
Yeah.
You had the sign at the street, so that helped.
Yeah.
Pulled in, just kind of, hello,
Yeah.
and then knocked on the door, walked in. I was like, man, this place is
Yeah.
really cool. This
It's
is exactly
very-
what I need. I live 10 minutes away, so
It's very in your
Win-win.
garage Amazon,
yeah.
right? And then
Perfect.
hopefully we'll get bigger. But that's how it rolls for now,
Well, I mean, it all starts somewhere, and I mean, speaking as somebody who's been in the archery world for a while, I've been to those shops. I've been a part of those shops even, where it's just like you get some random guy at the counter that may or may not know what he's doing or what he's talking about, right? But yeah, that I value that personable feel and everything when you walk in to something like that. And man, it's cozy. It's an awesome feel in here. You got a pretty cool vibe. And then I didn't even see, just wasn't paying attention to the range when I pulled in today. And when we went back out there with my son, I'm like, man, this is like, I've been at bigger operations that don't have a range that's this legit or this nice.
I appreciate
it. That it's awesome.
Yeah,
for
thanks.
Sure.
I do get a lot of people that call that are like, hey, do you have, you got like 20 yards so I can set in my bow? It's like, I got 100 if you're interested. And they're like, oh, all right, sounds good. Yeah. Guess we can do that too.
Yeah.
So, no, that was a cool addition to that. The only part that stinks is it's outdoors, and we live in Texas, so you get about 2.5 good weeks of weather, and then you guys deal with it the rest of the time.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you there. Well, all in due time. It'll
work itself
I see
out.
big
For
things
sure.
for you for sure, and good growth for
I
sure.
appreciate it. Yeah, it'll work out. So, good times.
We came in here, and I mean, I'm not saying anything that, at least at this time that we're doing this podcast, our listeners don't know. Like, we're single in the archery bow sponsor world and everything. We had a great partnership with Elite for several years, and we're moving in a different direction now. And so we came in here also wanting to shoot some new bows, and I wanted to ask you on the podcast at least, because you shoot prime archery, that the new bow that they came out with, the Form, the carbon hybrid,
That's what most people are calling it. That's what I call it too.
Yeah, I
it's
mean
basically-
that's what I saw, at least when I
Yeah.
looked at it, right? And
Sure.
I also looked at it the very first time. I was like, man, that thing, it looks a little goofy, even a little bit.
Yep.
But talk to our listeners a little bit about that bow and what makes that bow unique.
Yeah. So my first experience with the form was on a Zoom call about 3 or 4 weeks before it came out with Prime itself. And there is a gentleman who's on the marketing team for Prime named Brian. So we're sitting there talking, we get on Zoom. It was more of just to kind of discuss 2025 business goals, where I saw the business, what kind of growth we could see from G5 Prime itself. And so we chit-chatted about that. And then there was kind of a lull in the conversation, and I said, dude, we've been on the Zoom for 15 minutes, and I still haven't seen the new bow. Are you going to show it to me, or what's going on? So he pulls this thing out from behind the desk, and I was like, what did y'all do with this? What is that? And I was like, I don't know if I like that. I don't know. It's weird, right? It's different. Yeah. Different's always weird to a human being until you get it in your hands and you kind of feel it out.
Right.
So I was like, oh, it's different. I'm not going to form any opinions until I get it in my hands, set one up, and shoot it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He had one to me in the next few weeks or whatever before it had, launched to get the preview pack in for the customers and all that sort of good jazz. And I held it super light to begin with, under 4 pounds. It is that carbon hybrid. So those carbon rods, a lot of people don't know. I don't have it still with me, but those carbon rods are about 1/8 to 3/16 thick walls of carbon. So it basically looks like an arrow that's souped up on those carbon walls. What it allows it to do is those carbon rods are extremely durable, and carbon works well in the straight line direction is how they put it. So how they are on the riser. A lot of people will do carbon in different ways. You got your full carbon bows that bend, but carbon is good straight. We see that in arrows. We see that in F1 racing. We see that in all sorts of stuff like that. Carbon is good and strong straight. So we said, okay, well, where can we in this riser just make it straight? So that's what they did. Top and bottom of the riser, you got your handle. 2 straight thick carbon rods that are mold fitted into the aluminum riser, so you do get that hybrid. And what it allows it to do is make it super stiff, super strong, and super light, because it's basically aluminum, hollow aluminum.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like you're holding anything. The other advantage to those carbon rods is you get the ability to have very little hand shock when you shoot that bow because of how stiff it is. It's all absorbed by that string, cams, and limbs, and doesn't dissipate through that riser because it's basically just a carbon rod that you're holding. A lot of people had apprehension about that bow. They did so many that hasn't been released to the public, just what I know, tests on durability and all that sort of stuff. And I know that it can hold, and I'm probably going to butcher this, so if Prime ever sees this, just let me know, and we'll get it corrected.
We'll correct it, yeah.
But it's something silly like taking the riser, and, everybody's worried about pulling the bow back, and you've got tension in that riser that's being pulled. Okay, well, what happens is that carbon snaps. They did something stupid, like 6,000 pounds of force or something, and then it snapped. Wow. And I'm like, okay, well, you're pulling 6,000 pounds, you better be smoking rhinos or something like
right,
that.
Yeah.
Not worried about it.
Using your bow to drag your elephant out.
Exactly.
For sure.
So it never was a concern, and I finally got one in my hands and got to shoot it. Man, it is quiet, it is dead, it is super light. And mine's sitting on the pool table getting ready to be set up, so I'm very pumped for it. Yeah, Prime did a good job. They changed the industry from full carbon, full aluminum, and really made something that's been in the works for years. And this is the final product that came out of it. I'm super pumped to see where it goes.
Oh yeah. No, I am too, and having never had one in my hands until today, I didn't really know what to expect. I'd heard what you had said about it and some other guys on social media and everything talking about it, but I'm the same way. Like I'm gonna form my own opinion when I actually have it in my hand, Right. So I was very, very pleased with it too. I was also curious, and I might just pull one down here.
Yeah, go for it.
This question, but you. Like the way that this bow is structured, it has, and I know that this comes down to, most bows are like this, but it feels like the carbon rods are very, very set off to the in this case a right-handed bow off to the right-handed side.
Yeah.
is there a science behind that, or is that just how it balanced out when they built
So
it?
I'm gonna put you to work again. Will you grab an RVX?
So, and I'll try to turn it this way so those of you watching the video can actually kind of see what I'm talking about. But I'm always curious because this is the kind of stuff that I'm looking at when I'm exploring this kind of stuff and trying to break it down in my mind.
So as we talked about before, carbon is good in the straight line direction. So
Right.
this here, from here to here, has a curve into it, right? And the farthest point out over here would be your straight line direction.
Right.
Same thing here. You get this big curve here, your farthest point out would be your straight line direction over here. So all they did is took the farthest point out in the straight line connection and just made it straight with basically a 45-degree angle. So you don't get these organic curves like you do in the RVX. You get more of those straight line curves, but they took the highest point and made
And they're
them straight.
trying to maximize the distance to get as much as they can out of it, I guess, which is why
Correct.
it looks more pronounced, I guess I would say.
Yeah,
But-
so in this bow, you see it's the straight line is here on this plane, but only a portion of the curve is touching it.
Yeah.
But it's still straight lined out over here, to whereas on that one, the straight line, you just see the whole straight line instead of the curve, right? So that's the difference there. It only comes in 34 inches axle to axle because in order to shorten that axle up or lengthen the axle, the carbon rods go in or out.
Yeah.
And it'd just be a marketing nightmare. Or not a manufacturing nightmare.
Manufacturing.
Yeah, so that's why you have them so offset and it's so flush, is that straight line is just more pronounced.
I gotcha. Yeah, very, very interesting. I also, one question I have for you, and some people tuning into this might be asking the same thing. Back in the day when I shot Hoyt years and years ago, I had a carbon bow at one point in time. I have thought when Elite in recent years started making carbon bows, I've also thought about going back to one. I have not. And that was because I had some friends in the bow tech world that their way of thinking and their advice to me was never get the first generation of a carbon bow that a manufacturer puts out.
There you go.
You obviously have one sitting over here on the table.
Yep.
So I'm imagining you don't necessarily think along those lines, or at least feel that way with this bow in particular. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. When you got a full carbon bow, you have to see where it works and where it doesn't, the fail points of that riser, all sorts of good jazz like that. I'm going to sneeze. I think I'm going to sneeze.
Not the first time.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll take it as it
I thought
comes.
I was going to sneeze. Hey, are you good,
We are
Jordan?
we're in a full operational bow shop.
That's
right
right.
now, so
Yep.
there's
Hey,
plenty of stuff going
you
on
good?
as we're recording.
They're doing business.
Yeah.
He didn't never scan his card, but it printed a receipt.
Attaboy. If you want, we can figure it out after you guys are done shooting. Yeah, y'all go shoot. We'll figure out the money. Sorry, duty calls, and I never sneezed, which is why I stopped in the first place. So that's great.
Might still have to do that later.
Yeah, might still have to sneeze here in a minute.
It'll sneak back up on you.
Yeah, it will. So, you get a full carbon riser in that, so you got to figure out where it fails and everything. And carbon risers are meant to be strong and light. Well, most people like a bow that's going to be around a particular weight anyway, whether that's in the riser or whether that's in the accessories, right? So getting that second generation of carbon can definitely figure that out. In this particular bow, all they really did was cut an RVX, which already works, and extend it and put carbon rods that already work in the aero world. So no, I don't have those apprehensions because it's not a full carbon riser. That's a completely new design. It's the RVX that has worked for the last two years.
Yeah.
The RVX Plus came out this year, so this is the third iteration of it, but it already works. And then those carbon rods are way too over-engineered for what it needs to be. So no, I don't really have any of those apprehensions, and that's not just me really enjoying the product. I really don't see where it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
So.
No, it makes sense to me, and I would agree with that perspective on it for sure. I also wanted to ask you too, because I feel like Prime is accelerating in the industry a little bit as far as the recognition of their brand, right? And I told you when we were talking about this bow and everything, I said I haven't shot a Prime bow in probably 10 years at
Sure.
least. And like back when they were running the 2-track cam system and everything. So they've moved away
Bowtech
from
nightmare.
yeah, exactly. They've moved away from that, correct? And
The Black 9 and all that sort of stuff, the inline, and they're not going. I don't think they're going back to the 4-cam system.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the future.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I was pleased with that. It was an interesting concept, but
they shoot great.
Oh yeah.
It's just on the other side of the counter.
Yes.
It's like a 90-piece system to change strings, and it's like.
And I remember like working in a bow shop back when those things were pretty, at least becoming more popular, or it was gaining more people's interest and everything like that. And several guys would come in and order one or buy one because they like the way it shoots, and it was pretty smooth and
shoots great.
I love the way it shoots. But yeah, I remember being a tech behind the counter and seeing one of those coming in from a mile away, and you're trying to hide so that somebody else gets assigned it, not
my timing's off. Okay, which set?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one thing Prime is not scared to do is shake up the industry a little bit. They don't really care what people think, and I love that.
Yeah.
It's
good stuff.
Yeah, no, it speaks to who they are and what they want to do for sure. I also think I might hurt some feelings on this side, but I speak my mind. I think a lot of people are tired of the same old cafeteria enchilada on Thursdays.
Yeah.
Do some of the larger competitors, without naming names, make good bows? Hands down. But in my opinion, a lot of them, or at least a few of them, have taken what I call the Apple model and released a new bow every year, but they gave us new emojis. Mm-hmm. Still feels the same.
Yeah.
Didn't really do a whole lot.
Yeah.
Prime is accused of that as well, from the RevX to the RVX and now the RVX Plus. You're just putting a new name on the same bow. So I think a lot of these companies are just being accused of, we have to release a new bow next year. Just because. Let's just slap it on and make a few different little changes, when I would really like to see the industry change from that to put out a good product, and if it takes you 2 or 3 years, come out with a form or something like it.
Yeah.
And really shake it up. Spend some time engineering, because if you went out and you bought an RVX and you love it, you're not going to go buy another one.
Yeah.
It's not reaching the same audience to where you wait a couple of years and now the form comes out. All my guys that have bought RVXs are now like, hey, I want to come shoot this form.
Yeah.
You create that buzz again, and I think that's where the industry lacks a little bit, is this underlying necessity or need to have to put something else new so we stay relevant.
Yeah.
Not just make the industry good.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like back in the 2010 to 2013 range, when Hoyt started kind of shaking it up with the first carbon bows, back then, or at least the first, well done ones, I would say, for the time, right? I feel like that was kind of waking some other people up, because I've had the same thoughts from year to year, like how much more can archery technology actually improve?
Yeah.
And I've said it before for years, whenever somebody comes to me and is like, hey, I'm thinking on getting a new bow, what should I look for? And I was like, you got to go to a shop and you got to shoot them.
Amen.
That's all you got to do, because technology is so advanced at this point. Like, I mean, yes, you have your mainstream brands, for lack of a better term, but it seems like there's not really a bad bow out there.
It really isn't.
It just comes down to what you as the shooter want and what you prefer. Mm-hmm. I think that's what it boils down to. And blue collar guys like me, if I'm spending that much money on a bow, I don't want to spend that much money every single year.
Bingo.
So it's an investment, and I'm going to shoot it for several years. How many
years,
guys are still rocking the Matthews Z7 or whatever it was?
There's one on the wall right there.
Yeah,
Z7 Magnum.
I was looking over there what you had, and I know my captain at work, that's the one he's still shooting right now.
Dude came in here wanting a string change and dude came in here wanting a new bow and ended up with a string change because he loved that one still.
Yeah.
It's just,
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's plenty of guys that, I mean, that's the way it is, and I mean, more power to you, man. Like, I think it was Chad Jones, one of our own guys that's fairly local here. He on this end of Texas at least.
Yeah.
He I think this year was the first year he'd upgraded in a long time, because he was rocking a Z7 or something similar.
Yeah,
so,
good bow.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah. That riser model with those cams that Matthews put out that couple of years.
Yeah.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just like you said, man. And they did a good job for that for a little while. But you hit the nail on the head. Go to a shop, whatever shop you like, whatever shop you don't like. If they got it, shoot it before you make a decision, because they all shoot different. I explain that. That's why I carry so many different brands in here. People always ask me, man, you're kind of stretching yourself thin carrying 8 different brands. Well, the goal is not to have the customer care if I carry the different brands. It's for them to walk in and be able to shoot everything so they can make an informed decision about what they want to shoot. At the end of the day, that's the only reason I exist, is for that customer to come here and purchase a bow. So if I only have 2, I'm going to force them into something they may not like, and then they're not going to come back.
Yeah.
But if they get to shoot 6 or 7 different brands, even if I don't carry them, but I got a used one or something, they can at least feel it.
Yeah.
Then if they have to go somewhere else, I'll tell customer that 10 times out of 10, man, if you like that, I'm not a Matthews dealer. Hey, man, if you like this Matthews, I got one used, but you want the new one, go buy it.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to help you with whatever you want, but you need to buy. It's your money. You need to spend $1,300 on a bow. Go buy it where you want to buy it.
Yeah.
Go buy what you want to buy. And I relate it to trucks all the time. You got your F-150, your Chevy 1500, your GMC Sierra 1500, whatever.
Yeah.
It's the same truck. It's all 1500 cab.
Yep.
They all have different bells and whistles. And that's no different what I tell people. That's how I make that connection with most people in bows.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same bow. They all shoot a little faster here and there. They all feel a little different, but drive the one that you like how the seat fits your butt.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with that. And you
really
know,
good analogy.
comparing it to vehicles or whatever you want to do, like in my mind, you know, for example, like 4 years ago, I switched from Chevy to Ford, right? And people can knock me all they want, but if you go and Google, you know, what kind of problems am I going to have with a Ford F-250, you're going to get a bunch of answers, and then you could turn around and Google what kind of problems am I going to have with, or what's good about a Ford F-250, and you're going to get a bunch of answers, right? Yeah, there's lemons out there, and there's freak accidents that can happen or stuff. Like you had one this last year with your bow, and I told you, I was like, because we shoot the same bow model and everything, I was like, man, I hate that happened to you, but that did not give me any lack of confidence in my equipment, because I shoot my bow often enough that I know it's not a systematic issue. It was just an unfortunate isolated issue that happened to him, you know? So it comes down, like you said, to what you like. And talking about how many brands you carry, I like walking into a shop and seeing a ton of different options. I've walked into shops before where they carry 2 different bow brands, and when you ask them, hey, do you carry Hoyt or do you carry Matthews? No, I only sell Bowtech and Elite. Only. I don't carry anything else. These are the bows that you need. I was like, how do you know that? You know?
Right.
So
yeah, for sure. I wish we could carry Matthews and Hoyt here, just their dealer protection program.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of how that cookie crumbles. But yeah, man, I want people to get what they want, and I think they should spend their money on what they want, regardless of my ulterior. Why can't I say that?
Ulterior?
Is that right?
Ulterior.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like an idiot. Ulterior motive.
Dude, you nailed it.
Yeah, okay, well, good. I got it right the first time and then made myself seem like an idiot. That's what happened. I got it now.
I've said so many words on this show that I'm pretty sure aren't real words anyway. So I think we're
yeah, it's 100%. And I think it's going back to your point of what happened to your bow, and you know what happens to a Chevy, and it's always in the shop or whatever. I drive a Tundra, and my wife just bought a brand new Tahoe. The thing is slick, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care what the badge name is, but there's a friend that I have in the industry that said something really important in response. He was on a podcast in response to, what do you have to say about, you know, all the lift limbs cracking from last year's model? And he kind of stopped for a second. He said, well, let's think about it this way. Matthews put out twice as many lifts, just the bow, the lift, as any other bow company in the country. You're bound to have problems.
Yeah.
Just like your Ford F-150.
Yeah.
Sells the most trucks in the country. The more you sell, the more problems you have. If you only sell 3 bows, they better all be good. If you sell 3 million, you're probably going to have a few bad ones. That's just how it goes. And I think that's really important to put out, is they're selling the crap out of these bows, and you're going to have some manufacturer issues. Just because you've never had one before, it's just it's no different than a truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, you can't. I mean, guys do, and I'm not knocking anybody for that. You have a bad experience with one brand, you might be more.
We're all accused of it. We're human.
Yeah, you might be more inclined to switch, but like I said earlier on, it's like the technology in this industry is so advanced now. It's not that there's truly a bow that's engineered or designed poorly, in my opinion. They all just meet different needs. Yeah, is how I look at it, at least.
My favorite thing is getting the guy in here that's like, oh, I'm shooting this whatever, and it's 15 years old, and I hand him a new one down, and he's like, no, this one works fine or whatever. I've been shooting 60 pounds forever and whatever, and the 60 pounds on a solo cam is a rip. You got to pull that bad boy. And, I hand him a nice brand new dual cam bow, regardless of brand. Pick one, doesn't matter. They all, like you just mentioned, shoot very similarly. And he's like, what is it set up? I'm like, 72. And he was like, I don't know if I can get that. He's a 55, 60-year-old guy. And he just basically rips the string off the cams, and he's like, what?
Yeah.
That's cool, to see that guy that's been out of it. Technology advancement.
Yeah. No, that was our staff manager, Todd. He had a similar experience when he upgraded. It was an upgrade for him, moving to the Omnia, with Elite this last year and everything. And, I forget the exact numbers, but he previously was shooting like low 60s, if I recall, on his last bow and everything. And just with rocking a newer in general bow, he was able to pull closer to that 70 mark and everything, just not changing anything in him physically, right? It's just the technology and everything, which is awesome.
Great.
So
I think it's great. We're getting to that point, where everybody's gonna be shooting 80.
Everybody's gonna be Cam Haynes.
I think Cam shoots 90.
Cam shoots 90. There's only three Hoyts on the market that are 90. Bomar, Cameron Haynes, and Joe Rogan.
Rogan, yep.
Figures. Good for them,
man.
Like,
no,
I'm not knocking. Those guys are studs.
Funny story. So that tan RVX on the wall you guys shot earlier.
Yeah.
My hunting rig. When I had Prime send me that bow, when it came out last year, I said, send me a 32 tan. That's what I'm going to hunt with, but put 80-pound limbs on it, because I'm going to go elk hunting and I wanted some speed and I'm going to touch out a little bit. They're like, okay, no problem. Then they put 80-pound limbs on it. I get it in, set it up, moving and grooving, tuned it. I shot, I kid you not, maybe 4 dozen arrows out of that bow. And I picked the phone and I said, hey, send me 70-pound limbs, would you? Because this is not fun to shoot.
I can't do this.
Yeah. I had one practice session and I was like, nah, send me 70. And I changed the limbs out the next week after they came in. It's just, you get to a point to where it's like, I could pull 80 back once or twice. The adrenaline's running. You got something in front of you, and that's great. But at some point, I got to practice with my equipment.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what is obviously the limb is dictating the draw weight. What's, like, in your sense, 70 versus 80-pound limbs? What's the actual difference in those limbs? For somebody that doesn't know?
The differences in those limbs is going to be, so the composite material that they are is going to be stiffer.
Yeah.
So they don't bend as much.
Yeah.
It's no different, I'm kind of going to go off track here for a little bit, but no different than the higher spined arrow for those of your listeners who aren't in archery. If you get an arrow and somebody tells you it's a 500 spine, it's probably going to be super bendy like a wet noodle. Those are going to be for your really low pound bows. And basically what's happening is you're not putting a whole lot of force through that arrow, so it doesn't have to bend as much. If you were to shoot that same arrow at a 70 or 80 pound bow, you're probably going to blow it up because it's just bending too much. So you use a stiffer arrow, right? In your more 250 or 300 spine. So the lower number, the stiffer. Limbs are the same way. You get 50-pound limbs, they're just going to flex more. You get 60-pound limbs, they're just going to flex a little less. They're all probably have a very similar deflection when it comes down to it. I don't know that for a fact based on the fact that I'm not a bow engineer. But from what I've learned over the years, they're going to have a pretty similar deflection, but they're just stiffer. So that's what you get out of that, is they're all tested out. And what a lot of people don't know is in the pocket of your limb, most all manufacturers write a number or a letter, and each limb deflects differently. So if you ever change the limbs on a bow or see your bow tech change the limbs on a bow, they're going to be, the number is 600, 605, 614, and 612. All of those are the deflection rate of each individual limb, and you put them in different parts of the bow so that way the bow overall shoots well with split cam limbs, right? But your 80-pound ones are just going to have a lower number. They're going to be in the 500s, not the 600s or the 700s. So
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So for somebody that, because obviously we have listeners across the country, for somebody who can't come to Bear River to get the quality of service that we've had today, and I'm looking at your banners up here on the wall, the certified bow technician.
Yes.
What's the difference in going into a shop and having a bow technician versus your average Joe behind the counter that just works there part-time?
A lot of things. mostly the know-how of the steps to take to get it done correctly. You get it all over the country, and people do things different ways, and the way I do things is not my way or the highway. But the end goal is always the same. If I'm setting a bow up, it's going to be leveled out, it's going to be zeroed, it's going to paper tune well, it's going to make sure that that bow shoots well for that particular customer. It is not difficult to learn how to fix the timing if you have a bow press, tie a D-loop, watch a YouTube video. It's not. But figuring out how to fix those problems that customers come to you with to be able to give them back a product that shoots better than they've ever shot it because it's back to spec is where you make that difference. And the banners that you see are certified technician stamps from Archery Trade Association for crossbow and compound bow. I myself have it. Jordan doesn't know it, but he will have to get those soon.
He's not even in here. He left.
So yeah, it walks you through the process. It gets you to where you need to be, and it makes sure you set guys up or girls up the way that it's intended to be. When I give lessons to people, I always tell people when I'm fixing somebody's form, the problem is in this equation is you. So this bow is engineered to be perfect. If you had a machine shoot it and you put it on a draw board with an automatic release, it would shoot in the same single place every single time if it's set up correctly. So my job as a bow technician is to make sure that if that scenario would ever happen, that bow shoots in the same exact place every single time. And as long as I achieve that on the bow side, I can fix you on the personal side.
Yeah. Well, and that analogy of the machine right there just drives home the fact on reps and consistency, right? That's at the end of the day, that's what makes us better archers. And you were even learning that, not to turn this into a gun talk, but you were learning that from the firearms standpoint
literally this
too,
year,
you know?
or last year, technically.
And it's applicable to both, the amount of guys, just, you know, your average hunters that you know, pull their bow or their gun out of the case beginning of hunting season, shoot a couple times just to make sure everything's still on, and all right, I'm good to go. There's a reason that we shoot year round, you know, and it should be for bow and gun, but in our sense and applicable today in archery, because, you know, I can't go out and hunt elk in Idaho or mule deer in Colorado if I'm not practicing and shooting. And
right.
Yeah, I've even seen a regression, like on the years where I haven't gone out west, you know, I'll even realize that I'm not really stretching it out as far as I normally am. And then once you start putting in for those tags again in the spring, you're like, oh, I better start flinging them at 90 and 100 again, you know? Better start getting back in the swing of things a little bit here.
Exactly.
Lose a few arrows and get painfully reminded that you're out of practice.
Been there.
I have a friend who's on pro staff, and he says that 99 times out of 100, the issue with what's going on with you in the field is the monkey behind the wrench. One time, it'll be the wrench. Timing's off, rest got bumped, sight got moved. But how many times in your head can you actually count if you were to take somebody that you know that's reputable, gun or bow or anything in your life, golf clubs, I don't care, and you take it into somebody and you hand it to them, or somebody hands me their bow and be like, man, I just can't get this thing to shoot right. And I put it through the ringer and I'm like, dude, I didn't touch it.
Yeah.
The timing was a half twist out, which isn't going to do anything.
Yeah, it's not gonna make the 6-inch difference you're seeing.
Yeah. So I think it's you, question mark, you know?
Operator.
And, exactly. And that's where the practice comes into play. If you're not shooting your bow, man, good luck.
Well, and there's nobody that wants to hear that either, or there's some people that don't. I remember that from the bow shop days for me personally, was you get guys that are, you know, they come in, I've been shooting for 20 years and I've always shot this way. It can't be me. And, you know, you try to coach them, but you got to be willing to learn at the same time if you want to improve to a certain extent. So
because then you have guys that don't practice, but then you also put them on an actual deer or an actual animal. Adrenaline's pumping, heart's pumping. It's like the room for error is so great.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
And I love that you mentioned that too, because I work a little bit part-time as a whitetail guide for an outfitter in South Texas who's become a great friend. We get to hunt out every year. I go down and work for him a couple weekends a year and guide some people. And he is the epitome of that. He'll pick his bow up the second day of October, throw 4 arrows. and be like, I'm good. You know, he's
Good.
dude's 65 years old. Shoots. Just got him a new prime this year. We got him a Christmas present, and he got fully decked out, brand new prime.
Nice.
The whole
That's awesome.
enchilada. Me and guys kind of came together and got him that. He was tickled pink. We set his new bow up, and when we got the 20 set, he's like, all right, I'm good. It's like, well, you're not going to throw a few more? He goes, shooting fine. And the difference I have for people in that is, yes, you should practice. Yes, you should throw more than 4 arrows before you go hunting. But to what you mentioned, that dude has, I don't even know if his heart rate increases when he's at full draw on a deer. He's done it so many times.
Yeah.
It's an experience factor, right? So
Yeah.
at some point, your practice and your experience are going to meet up, and then your experience is going to outweigh the practice. It never goes away. But for some people, it's like this, and for some people, it's like this. He's more in this realm.
Yeah.
To whereas I feel like I kind of teeter back and forth,
Oh, for
right?
sure.
I don't practice for a while, and I'm like, I got this. And then I go pick up my bow, and I'm like, oh, I should probably practice a little more. You know?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
very accurate.
Well, speaking to that too, because you brought up the ranch and being able to guide and hunt down
Yeah.
there and do all that stuff. You killed some stud whitetails this year.
I got one. I got a stud. That's been a long time coming for me, and it was really cool. So typically when we go down to that ranch, we just it's kind of a guys' weekend, do a meat hunt and just camaraderie, drink a couple whiskeys. Asterisk on couple if you're like doing, comments. Yeah, a couple whiskeys. And we always have a great time. And this year it all kind of came together to where I was able to hunt this deer, and it was surreal.
Yeah.
Being able to get a deer that big on the ground. Ended up 194.5.
Dang.
So yeah, he was a big boy. And I almost, for those of you who are not versed on high fence ranches in South Texas, options are not a problem.
Right.
It's finding the right one, or the one that is supposed to be taken, that is the issue.
Mm-hmm.
So I had my eye on this deer, and I was jumping around to different blinds on the ranch and never could find him, and he only showed up a couple times here and there. And I'm sitting in the blind with actually the same partner that coming full circle for you. See, I am good at this. Coming full circle for you. The after the shot co-host I have, his name's David. He was sitting in the blind with me. We're sitting there, and we've been sitting there for an hour and a half or so, and there's a really nice deer. He's probably 215, 220, good. And I was sitting there, and I was like, it wasn't the deer that I was after, and I was like, I'm gonna shoot that deer. I'm gonna shoot that deer, And I grabbed my bow, and he goes, don't shoot that deer. And I was like, what? I was like, you see him? I was like, yeah, I see him, but he's not the one that you want. And I was like, I know. So I sit there, and 10 minutes go by. I'm like, okay, shut up. I'm going to shoot that deer. And so, we're doing this and that. And I ended up being patient a little while. And right before the sun went down, my deer comes walking down the Sendero. And David goes, there's your deer. And I turn around. And so the blind's facing this way towards you, Sam. And you're basically where the feeder is. And David is sitting next to me, but he's looking out the back window. Just by happenstance, like just random.
Yeah.
He's looking out the back window, and he says, there's your deer. And I turn this way, and I see it out. He's finally made his way to where I can see him out the front of the blind. And in about 3 seconds, I said, you better have that damn camera on. And I grabbed my bow, and I was at full draw before he even made it to the freaking feeder. I was ready to rock and roll. But he, right through the heart, G5 mega meat, 25 yards. I saw him fall into a mesquite bush no more than 30 yards away from the blind.
Nice.
It was just the way the books draw it up. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know you just mentioned, and I'm bouncing all around, but keep having thoughts pop in my head. That's normally how I roll around here.
I love it.
But you just mentioned the G5 Mega Meat, and I know at the time of recording this, at least, you pretty recently put out a video about a bunch of different broadheads and talking about that. Talk about broadhead selection, and because that is one thing, regardless of what shop you go to or if you order online, it's just you can get overwhelmed easily. I feel like trying to figure out what do I need, what's best. Just so many different options out there. What are your thoughts on that broadhead selection?
Yeah. The only thing, and if you go watch the YouTube video that I put out, I know it's long, but it's very informative. The only thing that I'll say that matters on broadheads is shot placement. I am a shot my phrase is shot placement is king. Trademark pending. There'll be t-shirts soon, so I'll get you a t-shirt. But
yeah.
Shot placement is king. I preach that to everybody. If you've been following me, if you've never heard my name, remember shot placement is king and you'll become a better archer. You can kill a white-tailed deer with a field point.
Yeah.
Done it. Okay? Was it hard to track? Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's where your broadhead comes into play. But the deer died. All right? What I like about some broadheads over others is the kind of penetration I get, the hole that I get, the cutting angle. In that video, I talk about my favorite broadhead being the G5 Mega Meat, and it still is until somebody comes out with something better. That will always be number one on my list for a few reasons. The entry hole I get is massive. I hunt mostly in South Texas. It's not like I'm hunting in a Kansas cornfield where you can watch the deer run 118 yards and see it fall over, and you're like, oh, blood trail's pretty easy. Once that deer runs about 8 yards, it's in mesquite. And if you've never hunted in South Texas, have fun.
Yep.
Yep.
That's exactly what
Been there.
our deer lease is like. It's like there's trails everywhere, mesquites everywhere. It's like impossible.
Yeah, unless you have a blood trail or you're really good at tracking digs, you ain't finding that deer.
Mm-hmm.
So I like big entry holes, big exit holes, penetration, sharp blades. G5 checks all those boxes. Never had an issue with proper shot placement. It gives me the blood I'm looking for. One I was really impressed with was the Beast Broadhead by Bomar. Those blades are extremely sharp. Jordan actually took that shot, and if you watch that video, you'll see that he hits that deer in the hind quarter, quartering away. Deer moved at the last second. Broadhead goes through the hind quarter muscle, straight through the guts, through the lungs, out the front shoulder, full pass through. Went through 3 feet of deer. Broadhead was unscathed.
Wow.
I'm impressed at this point.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said he moved at the last second because I was about to say, what the heck, Jordan?
I saved you.
Yeah.
I saved you. So
This to be brought up.
yeah. So those kind of things impress me when you can keep up the kinetic energy that I've worked so hard to get into my arrow build out of my bow. When we can keep that up through the entire process of shooting the deer, you've now captured my attention in a broadhead.
Yeah.
So I say shot placement is king to second it with when you keep my kinetic energy up and I get my shot placement right and blows through the animal with massive holes. I mean, at that point you're not tracking.
Yeah. What about broadhead tuning?
I think it's unnecessary.
Unnecessary.
I sit in the unnecessary camp. I can count the number of times on one hand where I've had to actually alter the tune of somebody's bow in order to get it to shoot the particular broadhead that they wanted, or had to change broadheads because that broadhead wasn't flying right. I've had customers come in before, even friends that are like, hey man, brought these broadheads, it's a 36 pack for $4 on Amazon. They're pretty great. Okay.
Right.
They don't fly right. You screw another broadhead on, they fly great. So while I think broadhead selection is important to go with a reputable brand, most all your pro shops are going to carry your reputable brands, your G5s, your Rages, your Slick Tricks, your, whatever.
Right.
Those are all fine. Broadhead tuning, I think, takes place behind the counter. It goes back to the only problem in the equation is you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if I tune your bow to where it can be shot by a machine and get a bullet hole every single time with the arrow build setup that you have, and we got no hand torque, we got no punchy of the trigger, and you're just laying missiles down range at 60 yards and you screw a broadhead on and something happens, 9 times out of 10 you did it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So not to say that broadhead tuning is non-existent, but I think it happens well before the broadhead goes on the arrow. There are 10 other things that need to happen before you get to the step of, okay, let's tune this bow to the broadhead. There's a couple times to where the arrow's flying great, but we're impacting a little bit left. We just bump the side a little bit, right? Like it depends on how important it is. If it's 20 yards or if we're trying to touch an elk at 80, we get a little more fine with it. But rarely is it a bow tuning issue with the broadhead. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. I offer the service, broadhead tuning. It's an hour lesson. And what I do is when they walk in the store is I tune their bow and we go out and shoot field points. We don't even shoot broadheads. And right before they walk out of the door, I say, okay, what broadheads are you shooting? They screw the broadhead on, they shoot it at 40 yards, and it goes right where it's supposed to. That's a broadhead tune, in my opinion, is just a proper tune of your equipment.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Sure.
Whether it's right or wrong, or I'll get criticized for it, I couldn't care less, but it works for me.
There will always be haters. Like, I mean, anything any of us say in any episode, there's going to be somebody out there with their own opinion of it and everything. And you've encountered that. I've seen on your social media.
Yeah.
We have too. So
yeah, it's
you just have to bring it up in the next
comments of the week. Yeah, that was supposed to happen this morning, but my manager didn't keep me on track.
Yeah, and then you had these guys from this media company.
Yeah, then I got exactly.
Yeah,
The whole day shot. Yeah, I was having a great time. But no, that's kind of where I sit on it, man. I don't.
What about just? And I know for our more entry level listeners, I might be getting a little bit too technical with this, but I'm a technical guy when it comes down to it. What about on your arrow builds themselves? Because you see guys running different helicals or a 3 or 4 fletch and stuff. What are your thoughts on that? Does it impact broadhead? I think I know your answer, but does it impact the broadhead one way or the other? If you're shooting a certain broadhead, should you fletch a certain way? Any feedback on that?
Those are also a couple of the things that I will get to down the list.
Yeah.
Things have to happen first before I will get to the point of matching the fletching to the broadhead blades.
Yeah.
In a fixed situation. I've never really encountered a mechanical situation where the fletching orientation mattered. But sometimes if you're shooting your big fixed blades like your Magnus Stingers or some of your bigger 200 grain VPAs that are 2.5 inches long, you got to make sure you got some beefy vanes, and it does help if you line them up because then you're not counteracting. Typically your broadheads that look like your G5 Montec, your smaller 3 blades, you're not really having that issue. As far as steering the arrow, but your 3 to 4 fletch scenario, there's different ways to look at it. Your 4 fletch, so that for your listeners that aren't super into archery, your fletchings steer the arrow. The way an arrow shoots or flies, I guess I should say, is after it comes out of the bow, it spins in. Jordan, will you hit me an arrow? I don't care where it's at. One out of the target's great. When an arrow is shot out of the bow, it spins in this direction, right? Just like this. Now, a lot of people don't understand the way that your main string is twisted will impact which way that arrow will come off the string. So if your string is twisted in a counterclockwise position, it'll string one way. If it's twisted in a clockwise position, it'll come off the string one way. I will always fletch the arrow in tune with that. So if I shoot a bear shaft arrow and it comes out and it's turning, that would be clockwise, sorry, not looking at it, I'm not going to fletch it counterclockwise because then I'm forcing the arrow to turn back on itself. I want to keep it in the direction that it wants to go. Right. Might as well let it run.
Right.
So there's where the orientation of your fletching matters. 99% of your string companies are going to fletch it, or are going to make strings to where you fletch it in a left. In a left. Yeah. There's only a couple that do it right. So there's your orientation. On the 3 and the 4 fletch, we just kind of went over the fletching. Steers the arrow, allows it to spin. Well, those fletchings or those vanes, depending on the helical you do, will impact how fast this spins. The less helical, the less it spins. The more it spins. There's controversy in more helical, creating more spin, making a tighter pattern downrange, which is great. But there's only so much energy going into this arrow. So easy percentage, if you we'll just take 100% energy, whatever unit that is, whatever, just stick with me for a second. 100% energy going into this arrow out of the bow. Well, if I've got a super helically fletched arrow, 20% of my energy is lost into spinning this arrow this direction when I want it to fly this direction. So now I'm losing 20% of my energy that is being used to travel in the direction I'm trying to get the arrow because it's trying to spin it so fast.
I see.
Make sense?
Yes.
So now I only have 80% of that energy. To where it's the same thing. If you fletch it in the incorrect direction, you're losing 10% this way to correct the arrow back that way when I want it to be going downrange, contributing to my kinetic energy in total. So, not to say that a lot of helical is bad, just have the poundage and the setup to back it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to put a super heavy helical and a 4 fletch on a low poundage bow because you're going to lose all your energy doing this. 80 pounds, 70 pounds, super fast bow, light arrow, run it, dude. Like, you might as well get the stability. You're not losing that much.
Yeah.
And then a 3 versus a 4 fletch is the same thing. A 4 fletch will stabilize this arrow faster in microseconds as, you know, the crow flies, but you're losing kinetic energy because it's helping that arrow spin faster, which is helping it stabilize faster. So I'll run a 3 fletch when I hunt because I want the kinetic energy to stay downfield. And realistically speaking, if you want to break it down in microseconds, the 3 fletch, when I'm hunting, I'm trying to hit a Coke can or a dinner plate, right? Coke can in my instance, dinner plate in some other guys' instances, to shoot their bow 4 times before the hunting season.
There we go.
Right? When I'm doing target archery, I love a 4 fletch because I could not care less how fast this arrow gets to the piece of foam. I want it to be accurate and hit a quarter. So, you know, that's how you kind of see that. Your guys that, you know, everybody follows, your Levi Morgans and your Cameron Haynes are all running 4 fletches. Well, yeah, it's because they're shooting 80 pounds and they're hyper accurate already. The average guy walking in here doesn't need a 4 fletch to be hyper accurate because I could build you 6 arrows with a 4 and 6 arrows with a 3, and if you just hit the target, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
It's a lot of people try to group themselves into that upper echelon of archers when in reality, you're not that good. And it's just the fact of the matter.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And I tell people that all the time, and I'm like, look, maybe not so direct, right? But it's like, it's not going to matter, I promise. Like, we can fletch it this way, and here's your advantages, just I've laid out for you guys.
Right.
And I'll do whatever they want. But the reality of the situation is 9 times out of 10, the archer isn't that good to notice. So
Fair enough.
yeah, I'll run a 4 fletch on my target, my tack setups, because I want it to be super accurate at 80 yards. And for hunting, I'm like, dude, if I can hit that elk here at 80 yards, I'm good. And 3 fletch accomplishes that all day long.
No,
and I'm keeping my KE up. So
yeah, that's been my, at least when I'm practicing for out west hunts, that's my mindset on if I'm in there, you know, at that range and stuff, then I'm content. I'm not trying to shoot silver dollars at these long distances or anything like that.
now we should specify, this is at the hunting moment.
Correct.
When you're practicing, if you're getting a dinner plate at 60 yards, you should not be shooting an animal at 60 yards because that dinner plate expands to twice the size. If you're grouping these arrows in a hole this big or a Coke can this big at 60 yards, Bubba, run it, because your effective range goes to about a dinner plate because you've got those things. You've got adrenaline, lack of experience, uphill, downhill, weather, animal moves and you shoot it in the ass, you know, all these sort of stuff. So if you're sitting there plugging away at 60 yards,
that was a jab. I saw it.
Yeah.
Shots fired.
He loves me. If you're sitting there at 60 yards and barely keeping him on the target, Bubba, you are not ready to shoot that animal at 60 yards.
Yeah.
And that's my 2 cents there.
Yeah.
I got a lot of sense. 2 senses.
A lot of 2 cents for sure.
Get that 2 for free.
So on that note, and as I know we're getting close on our time and everything that we have for today, but what do you do to prepare yourself for those circumstances? I know that the most generic and applicable answer is just reps, right? I know shooting is the best thing an archer can do, but what are some of the other things that you might do that are unique to try and mimic or prepare for those situations where you are out west and the adrenaline is pumping? And what's your mindset there?
On the adrenaline side, I like to run sprints or work out before I hunt, or before I shoot or during. Jordan and I did it a little bit this year, but I have a routine to where I will shoot one arrow at 70 yards, jog to get it and sprint back, and then immediately knock that arrow and shoot it again and be accurate with that arrow. Jog, sprint back, 1 arrow. I'm only shooting 6 or 7 arrows, but dude, you're gassed. You run a mile.
Yeah.
You know? And at the end of that, if you're on your last rep and you can pull back, control your heart rate and that adrenaline that you've manufactured inside of you and put an arrow in somewhere where you need to at 70 yards, that's a pretty good thing.
Yeah.
But I'll say, to second that, if you don't care about the adrenaline part, anything that you can do to take your mind off of the fundamentals. So I don't know if you guys play golf at all or if any of your listeners play a bunch of golf or whatever, but there's about 14 things that need to happen or else that ball's going in the water. I'm not good at golf. I'm terrible at golf.
Mhm.
Okay, Top Golf is about all I get because there's
Same.
nets on the side and they serve drinks. Okay, that's the only reason I'm good at Top Golf.
Yeah, I'm good at Top Golf at my ball going over the edge and straight down most
Bingo.
of the time.
Yeah, if you start on the first level, that doesn't happen. It just kind of dribbles, which is super
I'm always
depressing.
on the second level.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
I'm
missing.
saying. Exactly.
Go down.
So archery is very much like golf. There's about 12 things that need to happen correctly before that shot goes off, or else it's not going to be good. And sometimes not going to be good is miss the animal, miss the target, super bad, or miss by an inch, which could be a big deal. So anything that you can do to practice your fundamentals to where when you come back to full draw, it's second nature and you're not thinking about that. I've heard a couple different people, I've never done it, but they'll listen to a really interesting audiobook while they're shooting because they're focused on the audiobook and they can't think about all the things they need to do and then just shoot and see how their groups are. Or they'll sit with somebody and they'll have a conversation. Like if Jordan and I go out there and shoot, I'll just have him talk or talk to me and we'll have a conversation and I'm trying to talk and shoot at the same time because your mind can only focus on so many things. Your name's not Elon Musk. You can only focus on so many things all the time, right? So anything you can do to capture your fundamentals to where they become second nature if you're half asleep or your adrenaline's pumping will benefit you so much more than trying to manufacture adrenaline in that run scenario. All that's doing is helping you control your heart rate and your physical movements.
Yeah.
But if your mind is moving around, that's tough.
Yeah. Makes sense, man.
Yeah, that's good.
100%.
Yeah, that sounded smart there for a minute, guys.
I know.
Dude,
I'm
this
like,
whole time.
That's the clip we're going to pull out right there. That's the inspirational and motivational clip
That's
right
right.
there that's
I love
going to make the reels. So, man, I got a couple questions for you. I like to ask every first-time guest on our show.
All right.
First one just being, what's one of your favorite hunting memories that you've had? Tell us about it.
One of my favorite hunting memories was probably the first time I ever shot a deer. It was with a rifle, and don't make fun of me.
No, we don't want to hear about it.
I know, right?
We're done.
So, exactly, buck is still sitting over my fireplace. The first buck I ever killed was 148 something great deer, and hunting with a buddy down in Cotulla, South Texas, near Eagle Pass. For those of you who don't know, and sitting in a blind, and it's kind of we got these deer on hit lists. That everybody's got, and we're going to shoot this deer, shoot that deer. Well, none of those deer showed up. I had a couple does. Buck comes out. The particular buck I shot comes out. And I'm like, man, I've never seen that deer before. And we hunt here like every weekend. Like, I've never seen him before. So I get the binoculars. He's at like 60 yards. I get the binoculars out, send a picture to my buddy, and I was like, hey, I've never seen this deer before. He goes, no, it looks like you just made the hit list. Because he was old enough.
Yeah.
And before I could even finish reading the text message, gone. Deer dropped right there. I don't even know how I killed the deer because my scope had to have looked like this. Right? I was just amped, dude. And it was one of those really cool moments to go down. Thought I was having a heart attack. Had to calm down, because it was just that moment. Buck fever kicked in 100%. Super cool moment between me and my buddy. Tears, the whole enchilada. So he's still sitting over my fireplace today. That's got to be one of my fondest memories. That really that was the first time you ever did a drug and I hadn't stopped.
Yeah. The addiction started right
sir.
there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What about your bucket list? What's at the top? The things that if you could do, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Hunt or just anything?
Hunts. Yeah.
I want a grizzly bear so bad. It's not at a lot of top of people's list. You want to go to Africa. And maybe it's a little cocky saying this or whatever, but at some point I'll go to Africa and it'll be great.
Yeah.
And it's on my bucket list, but it's not at the top.
Yeah.
Going to Alaska, Prince of Wales, 10 days, no cell service with 2 Canadian dudes or whatever it is.
Whatever I end up with.
Yeah, whatever I end up with on a prop plane.
Heck yeah.
And going out and having a grizzly bear stand straight up in front of me at 30 yards and smoking an arrow through his sternum. I don't know if there's a better peak than that. I think that would be really, really cool. So that's my number one for sure.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I've said it on here several times. I'm warming up to the idea of a bear hunt. I don't know if I'm nowhere near the mindset for a grizzly yet, but We'll start with black bears, something over here in the lower 48.
Black bears are typically scared of humans, so they run the other direction, where grizzlies are not so much.
Yeah.
So I hope those 2 Canadian guys have 300 Win Mags like this.
Yeah,
just
right
in
over your
case.
shoulder.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to Cam Hanes it and just let the bear kill you if it happens.
If I can't shoot it with a bow, then it has every right to kill me.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I'm not saying he doesn't love his family, but I would like to make it back to my wife and children.
Same.
Cam Hanes has come up a couple times in this podcast. I'm not trying to rag on him. I have mad respect for this.
Oh, mad respect.
Yeah,
he is an absolute legend.
I do not have that mindset.
No.
As far as it has to.
I want to do it, and I want the adrenaline and the experience, but dude, by all means, if something's going down, you better have it ready to locked in.
Shoot him immediately.
Right in the face. Screw them out.
I am an archery only guy, and this guy even gives me a hard time about it sometimes. So if I do anything, it's going to be with a bow. But you best believe there's going to be another dude stand behind me with something that goes boom.
Yeah.
So
Yes, sir.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But
yeah.
Well, man, in conclusion, as we wrap up the show, tell our listeners where they can find you guys, both physically if they're local, want to come to the shop, or if they want to follow you online.
Yeah, so we're in Van Alstyne, Texas. Not a whole lot of people have heard of that, but a lot of people have heard of Frisco McKinney area. If you take Frisco McKinney straight up 75, or if you're in the southern Oklahoma area, take 75 straight down, you'll run into a little town called Van Alstyne. We're just east of downtown. So you can look it up on Google. It's Bear River Archery. Facebook, Instagram, the whole enchilada. If you guys want to know more about me for some odd reason, I have social medias on all that under J2C or J2C Archery. Justin Cannaday is my name, and it'll pop up that way too. Try to be pretty religious about posting on TikTok and YouTube, putting informative videos out there. So, yeah, if you guys ever need anything archery related, hunting related, just want to talk crap about Jordan, please send me a message.
I think the next time we come here and do a podcast, we got to get Jordan.
Jordan
to join in.
us.
Hey, I'm game. Let's do it.
I love it.
Yeah, I can tell he's got some stuff to say over there.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got some stuff. Yeah. Maybe you guys come closer to like a happy hour, so that way I can have a drink.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's do an after hours podcast next time. How about that?
No, I give Jordan a hard time, but the kid, he likes the kid. I think we're the same age. I actually think he's older than me. I think he's like 4 months older than me now that I just had him fill out his W-4, and I remember seeing his birthday. He is like 4 or 5 months older than me, and he just he's just hungry, man, and I love it.
Yeah.
And so he's very blessed to have him in the shop, and it's been good. So, yeah, no, you guys find me wherever, give me a buzz, and thank you guys for coming out. It's been great. Love our new partnership. You guys ever need anything, it's a true honor, and we're gonna have some fun times.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. It's just the beginning, and I'm excited to see what you guys have next. I know even this building, like it's small, it's cozy, I like it, but I get the feeling here that you're not going to be here long.
Right.
I see I see something bigger and better coming in the near future, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, as long as the check clears, we'll be good.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Justin, thanks, man. Thanks for the invite again.
Yes, sir.
Letting us come in house.
Appreciate you guys.
Podcast. We'll do it again soon.
You bet. Welcome anytime. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for listening,
I'll
everybody.
probably be here next week.
Yeah, Nick's gonna be here all the time.
I love it.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Catch you later.